Well folks, how the hell are yous? Tonight we have a special video for yous. This is a brand new old stock Makita tear down and repair video. This is the second of the brand new Makita hammers I got that are actually old stock, not working, that I got for spares or repairs. This is another one, an even bigger hammer, exact same story. Brand new, never been used, been kept in storage for 10 or 15 years and it's not running. So it was sold as faulty, new, old stock. So this here, it's quite a big Makita hammer, and it's a very good Makita hammer. This is the Makita HR5001C. This was a big, heavy-duty rotary hammer. Same sort of size as the Bosch GSH11E, or the rotary version of it, the GBH11DE. These here were a big brute of a machine, but also a fantastic machine. Still get these things and for repair. Boys are using them after 20 odd years of use. This one, supposedly brand new. Having a quick wee look at it. It's not absolutely brand new. I'd say it was used at least once or twice. But she's not working. So tonight, we're going to see what's actually wrong with it. See if we can get it running. And do a quick tear down her as well. And get a look at what she's like on the inside. Probably had these before on the channel, doing repair videos and servicing on them. Interesting to see what they're like brand new. Now, that I don't think is the original manual somehow. It ain't one of them. It's just the manual for a wee SDS Plus drill. This is a big rotary SDS Max hammer. So these things come with two handles. You've got the classic D handle, then you've got the long handle as well. Obviously there's a boring hammer. When you're using hammer only, obviously you can just use it as a D handle and just have an easy grip where you can drive it onto the ground. If you're using it as a rotary for boring, you also have the long handle as well. This is for handling the extra torque that you get when you put it onto rotary mode when you're drilling. Clips on the front, you take this one off, put this one on. This gives you extra leverage in your hand, stops the torque, twisting the thing in your hand and, you know, snapping your wrist. Don't need that. I don't need this. Now obviously this has been sitting either in damp or moisture. There's a little bit of rust on it. I'm hoping it'll actually be the same as the last one, and just the actual brushes and holders in here it actually corroded. So it looks like this one's a little bit worse for wear. So even these here corroded as well. Brushes in this one are a little bit easier to get to as well, so I would assume maybe somebody tried that themselves. Now the last one I didn't chance starting to begin with because I didn't know she was going to be wet or anything inside. This has been lying here for a good few weeks now in the dry workshop, so I know this is going to be dry, so I'm going to test this one first. And hopefully nothing gets cooked. This is not sounding like it's going to be as easy as the last one. She's running, but she sounds like she's sparking. Now, what year is this thing? It's 2006, so she's nearly 20 years old. Don't know what this label's about. Don't know if they all come with that or not when they're brand new back then or what. Right, we'll get on there and see what we can do here. Already you can see a bit of corrosion in them screws too. Right, there is corrosion, and this has been used. It's not brand new. But for the price I paid for it, we're not going to be too concerned if it's been used before. Right, hopefully that's the problem. That's not coming out. Don't want to bust it just yet. My chance taking the motor out and see if we can push it out from the other side, just to save the brush. If we have to break it, we can. Set of brushes isn't too expensive. Now this one's actually got on eBay, and at good money as well. So even as spare parts, because all these bits are basically new and still up money. But I also got a whole bunch of Makita brushes on eBay as well, and I'm pretty sure some of the ones for this is actually in the lot. So I've plenty of brushes if need be. They're badly corroded. I have to give them a quick tidy up before we put her back together again, just to finish her off nice. That's if we can get her up and running for cheap. A rotary hammer this size, even when this was new, would have been up and around the €1,000 mark, and today it would be around about the same, if not more. I think I only paid about €100 for this thing, so it was well worth the money at that. This thing's done nothing, and that's the bit we're most concerned about. The electronics, not a mark on them, no corrosion at all. A little bit here, but not starting to corrode. It's not actually as bad as I thought. It was going to be rusted on solid. As long as the motor's not gone, that'll be an expensive bit to replace if the armature's actually gone. Hopefully it's not. Tool holder itself looks okay. Can't take that off yet. First we have to get the change lever off. Take it off, get it pointing down the way, get a screwdriver in the back of it, and just prise it up. Take this off. This plastic cover has to get over this here piece of aluminium here, so stick something in there for it to run over the top of. The cover can come off, and the bottom cover. There's a little bit of grit in this, not very much. Let's say this had one outing, and that's about the height of it. That out. It should pull out. There we go. It's got stuff because that brush is still down on there. The question is, did I just break it by pulling it out? No. well, chipped there a little bit. Might just replace them. Right. You can see the motor did get a wee bit damp. A wee bit of corrosion on the field. The field should be fine. The question is the armature. Actually, it's kind of looking good. That's just the mark where the brush came out. And that there is just where the last one was sitting and corroding into the comb bar. There's corrosion here on the armature. That looks old. Doesn't look to be any burning. Plus the corrosion doesn't actually go down into the windings. That's just superficial. So that got damp and just rusted against the rotor here. You can actually see the same segments. Looks like it rusted and sat there and didn't move. So hopefully this wasn't ran when it was wet. A universal motor like this here, same as any motor, if you get them soaking wet, doesn't matter, it's not going to do them any harm whatsoever. You only do them harm when you actually run them when they're wet. As long as they don't run when they're damp or wet, they're fine. As long as you dry them off, they will run again, no problem. This is all copper. It's not going to, water's not going to affect it. Steel on the other hand can corrode like this. If you had a motor like this and you let it sit and the brushes were fine, maybe it was an induction motor or something, this can get stuck together and the field, the rotor and the field can get stuck together maybe from this corrosion. Even if it's not, the corrosion can actually fill up the void, the gap between the two, and they can rub. But once the machine actually starts running for a few seconds or a minute or so, it wears away all the corrosion and it'll run then fine. As long as they're dry when you switch them on, that there is not a problem. Now the bearing actually is fine. Thought that was going to be stuff. The bottom one seems fine too. I can't take off the air deflector. The armature has to come up first. Take the armature out. You have to press it off on the other side. Sometimes you can pull them out, but not this time. Hell of it. I'm just going to open up the gearbox as well. Have a little peek inside, just in case this actually got submerged or something. I have seen hammers coming in running fine, no problems with the motor, but just not hammering correctly. And the gearbox been absolutely filled with water. They've been in a flood or something, been submerged, taken out, dried off, and let sit for a couple of months till the motor was dry. The outside things like the motor housing and the motor, no problem, they'll dry out, but what seeps into the gearbox housing won't actually get out again. So sometimes if they are in a flood, and here can still be soaking. Not the case here. Still the original Makita grease from factory. You know it from the colour, sort of yellowy tinge. The newer modern stuff is a little bit more yellow again. Just stick that seal back on to keep it in place. Bearings in this is all going to be NSK bearings. Greasing this actually looks a little bit light actually. Could do with a wee touch up. Might do that. Here's an actual wee location pin here. It's actually just dropped on as I opened it. Stick that back on there just in case we forget. This gear here is running your actual crank that drives your piston. And this one here is for your rotary. So it's on a wee plastic foot here. As this is lifted up and down. And you change your lever here. It engages the shaft in the middle. Slides up into position. Actually engages the gear. When you change then it slides down and disengages, so this is just free to run. So when you're actually running the machine all the time, and hammer or rotary mode, doesn't matter which, armature is driving your crank back here. This has always been driven, which also drives this gear, which in turn drives this middle gear here, which is just free floating. that one connects onto the actual clutch here. So in other words, this clutch gear is always running, it's always spinning all the time. It's only whenever this shaft is lifted up that she actually engages the gear and drives the bevel gear inside to give you the rotation. And everything's looking good on this. I should just check what the grease in here looks like. Things I liked about Makitas. You just strip out the wee hexagon hole. Still have pins as well to get other things on to take that out. Looking fine. I can see the oil has actually started separating from the grease. Common thing to happen for any machine, for any grease. Over the time the actual oil separates out, starts to pull. Don't want to make a total mess of this. I want to get that back on again. But first, I'm going to clean up this armature. Don't need to be too exact with this. Doesn't have to be too exact. I just want to get the surface rust off so it's not actually rubbing on the stator anymore. This is just the steel on the outside, the steel laminates. Sanding it like that, I'm going to do it no harm. You can actually even turn this on lathe. So you get them where they're rubbing on the inside. There's no way to actually pack them out or move the bearing. If they are rubbing, sometimes you have to just turn this on the lathe, give it a little bit of extra clearance. That should be all we need to do there. The other thing is just take off this bit of corrosion. Just use a sanding block for this, mind you. You'll see the harder spots, like here. The corrosion will be a little bit harder to get off. That's the spot that's going to cause a spark if it's still there when you run it. Not do the machine much harm, mind you. It'll still run and eventually the brushes themselves will wear that corrosion away. But it will spark up until it does. I don't actually have any of the Makita grease here, so I'm going to use this stuff instead. This is actually a food grade gear grease. I use this here in the likes of KitchenAid mixers and that. So if you're peckish, you can take a wee taste of this too. Mind you, I wouldn't recommend it. Just get a little bit of extra in these gears. Probably don't need it, but a little bit of extra wouldn't hurt. When you're putting on this top cover, make sure your pin goes into this here hole for the change lever. A bit. Get a little bit on here as well. Just a wee taste because This here is still basically brand new and all the grease is going to be still on it. Definitely don't want to be over greasing this thing either. And if you ever have a hammer, whether it be a Makita or a Halti, Bosch or a Metabo, if you find it going weak in the hammer, just not getting the right hit, pull off the top cover up here. There should be a bung like this here. The Makitas and the Haltis have them anyway. Pull off that cover and you can actually get some grease under the gearbox to re-grease the piston on the striker. Generally that should get them up and hammered again, at least for a little while, as long as there's nothing else wrong with the machine. Sometimes the grease just gets hard or dried up or migrates to another area of the machine. A lot of the fresh stuff gets it running again, especially the Haltis, the older ones. Sometimes you get ones that are about 30 years old and no longer hammering. Pour a little bit of oil into here, thing starts running again, no problem. For like a Bosch hammer or a Metabo or a Hikoki, you'll have to pull off the top cover to actually get inside. There'll not be a bung, the actual cover itself will be the gearbox cover. But that's a quick and cheap way to get them hammered again if the hammer's actually going off or becoming weak. Just to top up the grease. Not by much, maybe 30 or 40 mils all you need. Heavier stuff's going to be a little bit better. The lighter stuff, lighter's probably not going to do it. Heavier stuff will be a bit rougher on the armature itself, on the motor, because of the extra resistance. But putting in a bit of bearing or gear grease onto it will give you better seals on the piston and the striker. And that's where you need the seal to get the hammer. So a little bit on the top should get you working again, at least for a short-term fix. Now, for this, take this rust off as well, just with a bit of sandpaper. Just careful you don't rub the actual windings. That should be all we need. Another thing we need to do is file down the holders. Not much point of going to all this bother to get them brushes out and leaving the holders all corroded. We're going to jam up the next set. All you're doing is cleaning off that little bit of green corrosion. Just leaving these nice and smooth for the new set of brushes to run on. As you can see down in there, it's all corroded up. Now, even with an old brush now, it slides in and out no problem. Last thing, I'm not even sure if this was definitely run or not. Tool holder has absolutely no dirt or dust on it at all. This here is the dirty end, like. That's what's doing all the work. There's not even any grease or dirt inside the tool holder. I actually don't think this was ever running. I think it was just sitting in a dirty environment and the dust around it got on here. See the watermarks there? I think the dust has just been falling on this and the actual water took it in. I actually don't think this ever was run. If it was, you would definitely have dirt and dust and debris up on here. That wouldn't be so clean. Might look used, but I don't think it ever was. Even the tool holder sleeve, look. It's scraped and dirty on the outside, but on the inside, even here, there's not a mark on it. They just wouldn't stay clean if you're doing Kango or boring with them. Putting this cover back on again. It's easier than taking it off. Slide straight on. plastic cover sits on here, and it sits against it. Two screws hold each of them on. Change lever then. Plastic selector on the inside. This is sitting on a wee spring both ways. There's a slot in the middle. This pin has to go into the middle of it. So put your pin in first. And rotate it round so the arrow's pointing down. And just knock it into position. You'll know you're in. Just when you rotate her, it'll stop in all three positions and not pop off again. It needs to be flush with the housing. Brushes are CB155s. For all the price of them, might as well put in a new set instead of using the old ones. But if you wanted, you could easily just file down the old ones and reuse them. I have new ones here, so I'm just going to go with new ones. I could easily run this thing now, test it before I finish it off. I'm very confident now that is all what's actually wrong with this thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with this motor. If this thing runs smoothly, I'm going to be overjoyed. This whole handle cover here, that is just for a switch, just a simple on-off switch up in here. That's what that lead's actually collecting in. That's just a live wire going up, being connected and come back again. Nothing complicated about up here. Now, what is this thing going to sound like? Once you start, fart, or pop. Listen to that. As Smooth as silk. Sounds like a brand new machine. Unbelievable. A €1,000 machine bought for €100 and a €20 set of brushes put into her, and she's up and running. What an absolute steal. I don't believe that, hey. That's unreal. A Makita HR5001C from 2006. Still brand new, just with a bit of corrosion on the brush holder and armature. A little bit of stripping down, bit of a clean, and she's running like new again. That's unreal. I cannot believe that thing's only cost me £100. Not every day you're going to get a deal like that. All the labels still on her. There's a label for the handle. D handle or the straight handle for the hammer. No D handle for rotation. Just a long extension handle. Unbelievable. I'll probably never use this as boring. Mainly, it'll be a hammer. That thing there is a keeper. When am I ever going to get that size of machine for that money again? 2006 HR5001C. Unreal. A job out the back, breaking up an old concrete path. This here is going to be perfect for, like light work of it. Actually got two big hammers now. Got the 11E now. And this here. It's amazing the stuff you can actually find sometimes on eBay. If you keep your eyes open and you know what you're looking for. Also curious to see what this actual serial number here is. It's not the serial number of the machine itself, unless it's off somewhere where it came from. Don't think that there's a Makita label. It's the wrong shade of black and it's too glossy looking. Anyway, that's her. Just because something doesn't work, folks, does not mean it's for the bin or not worth fixing. That there's a brand new machine. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. Just the brushes weren't making proper contact. Never just assume something's not worth fixing. You'll be amazed how often they can surprise you and save you an absolute ton of money. That there has absolutely made my day. Can't even buy these things anymore. I've got myself a brand new one. That there was got up on display. Right folks, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this wee Makita restoration video. If you're liking the videos, folks, remember, give us a wee like and a follow down below. If you want to help out the channel, hit that subscribe and share button. Thanks for watching again, folks. Cheers.